Mike, we're all very shocked and surprised by that hard-hitting report you did on the A2 death trap recently, because you are a man that's not known for that serious side, but it really is a passion of yours, isn't it? Something you feel very strongly about.
Just to remind people, what we did was we looked at a few accident black spots, and perhaps I should have mentioned in the piece actually, whatever happened to those signs? Do you remember when you were a kid you used to see a sign that had lots of accidents, used to warn people, accident black spot? For those younger viewers, that means that people would slow down and say, oh, I don't want to be the next victim. You don't see those signs anymore, and it seems to me that you don't see the authorities taking too much notice of roads that quite clearly are accidents waiting to happen. And we highlighted a few weeks ago the A2 in Kent, the gateway to Europe. You might say, well, what's the big deal about the A2? The A2 is so significant because it's a motorway type road, 6 lanes, you've got people coming to and from Europe, it's the gateway to Europe, and we found there, and I think we're looking at footage of it now, a ridiculous slip road from a very busy restaurant come petrol station, where people were being forced to join this 3-lane carriageway without an adequate slip road. And we stood there with Ted Clements, the chief instructor at the and road safety guru at the Institute of Advanced Motorists, and we asked him his opinion. He said it was one of the worst slip roads he'd ever seen in his life anywhere.
But since then there've been some developments, haven't there?
Well, that's the amazing thing. Only a few weeks later, look at this. I mean, these pictures say it all. Remember the before? Well, here's the after. After we go in and highlight the problem, this is what the authorities do. Now, we've got police officers driving past that site day in, day out for years. We've got Department of Transport officials, we've got councillors, we've got road safety officers, we've got all sorts of people. What about interested people with a vested interest, i.e. the drivers themselves? You would have thought that somebody would have raised this problem, that the problem would have been cured. Nobody did that. We went out on a limb. We accused the authorities and others of creating probably the most dangerous slip road in Britain. They reacted within weeks. And the amazing thing is, of course, with so many things like this, it doesn't actually cost a lot of money to correct the problem. All it really means is sending a gang of guys along for a day to repaint the road. You know, we're talking about white paint on a road surface going down, replacing the previous white paint that was on that road surface, and potentially saving lives. And you say it's a passion of mine. It absolutely is, because at the end of the day, the fast cars and the glamorous lifestyle and meeting interesting car designers and engineers and race drivers, I mean, that's unimportant. The important thing is that you've got a car that keeps you safe. That's why I drive a Volvo. And secondly, you know, how safe are these roads we're on? I mean, you know, we're talking about 3,500 people killed in Britain on the roads every year. We're talking about 45,000 people in Europe. Just think about it. 45,000 people in Europe killed every year on the roads. 850 people a week. Just think about that. Think of a football stadium with 45,000 people in it. You know, Man United or somebody playing on a Saturday afternoon. 45,000 people. Imagine all those people being wiped out.
It's a shocking thought. And you obviously feel strongly about it. Okay, this is one isolated incident, and a result's come from it, which is fantastic. But what else can be done? What are you doing?
I mean, I think that what I'd like to do, what I'd really like to do, to be honest with you, I'd like to kind of spearhead some safety campaign. Although the first thing I'd do, well, I'm volunteering. Yeah, I mean, I really would. I'd like to get involved with some sort of charity or something. And actually what I'd do is stop using this word safety, because safety is a turn-off. If you say, you know,
it's not exciting safety, is it?
No, it's not a sexy subject, but it's the most vital subject. You know, if you think about the road safety officer at your school, you know, he was always the man in a grey suit and hush puppies, wasn't he? The boring old git. But you know, safety shouldn't be like that. Safety should be like life-saving. You know, there's nothing boring about a lifesaver.
It sounds quite glamorous.
Exactly.
The emergency services.
And what it almost needs is, you know, it almost needs a Baywatch type person. Not that that's me, of course, because I don't look anything like Pam Anderson. But it almost needs somebody.
I don't know, in the right light, you never know.
But it almost needs that kind of change of emphasis, and it needs to be more glamorous. And we need to go, you know, there are kids at school today, you must have seen them yourself. I was in a pub the other day, 2 young guys walked in, I was horrified. They went up to the bar, and I expected them to order 2 pints of lager, the sort of thing that I would have done when I was their age, 18. And then before you know, 10 seconds later ordered another couple of pints of lager. These guys are drinking orange juice, you know, and then one of them had a cranberry juice and a mineral water. Young kids are worried about their health, they're worried about their looks, they spend a lot of money on cosmetics, going down to the gym, wearing nice clothes. Then they go out on the road, they're not qualified to stay alive. You know, they're in grave danger of damaging their clothes and damaging their looks and damaging their health. And so we need a massive road safety campaign, and we need to make minor improvements. Of course, it's very expensive to build a bypass around a shopping centre, but as this A2 example proves, you know, all you've got to do is change the paint on the road. And it doesn't cost anything.
If there are people out there watching who have a similar road situation close to them, what contact Mike?
Well, yeah, I mean, write to us, drop us a line at Men and Motors and tell us about these accident black spots. And also, you know, if you can't be bothered to do that, at least put in a phone call to your local authority or the Department of Transport and say, hey, here's an accident waiting to happen. I want something done about it. I mean, it is plain unacceptable to have anything like 45,000 people dying on the roads in Europe every year. You know, this is like the equivalent of a plane crash in Europe every week. You know, I mean, that would make headline news every week if a plane went down every week in Europe. This is like the equivalent of a plane going down and nobody taking any notice of it. I mean, the cost to society, the anxiety, the anguish that it causes the families of the bereaved, and that's before we start talking about the injuries. There's something like 1.5 million injuries a year on the roads in Britain. We've got to be better educated, and we've got to get this motoring thing into context. Yeah, it's great. Yeah, it gives us a lot of freedom, but it takes a lot of lives as well, and they're lives that are preventable.